Good morning, Romeo. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, John. Yourself?
Great. Thank you for asking. Could you talk about your defense, specifically your run defense, how it's playing now, and what you need to do to beat the Colts defensively?
Well, I think our run defense is beginning to improve from what it was earlier in the season. And we are continually working to improve it. I think the guys are beginning to gain more confidence in what they're able to do and then how they're going about it. So hopefully we'll keep improving as we wind down the season. And then your other question?
Just what you got to do to be able to beat the Colts defensively.
Okay, defensively, we have to have a great game overall. Everybody has to play good. We've got to be able to stop the run, be able to keep them from throwing long passes over our head, and play a clean game.
Playing Rivers last year and winning in LA, does that have any advantage for you guys going into this game?
Well, I think the fact that we played him and saw what he's capable of as a quarterback, because he's a really good quarterback. He studies and he knows. He looks at all the tails to give him an advantage at the line of scrimmage. And so we're going to have to do a good job of disguising to try to throw him off. And then we can't let him just stand back there in the pocket because he will stand and he'll deliver the ball.
Brandon?
Hey, good morning, Romeo. With yesterday's game between the Colts and the Titans, and given the situation with the Colts, were you able to learn a lot from the Colts defense, given that they were shorthanded? And what did you make of watching the Titans and the Colts yesterday?
Well, they were shorthanded, and I think that's the main thing. I think being shorthanded probably impacted them mentally. And then once Tennessee got ahead in the game, it was tough sledding for them, and I think if they had their guys, I think that they feel like that they would have done a lot better.
And then also T.Y. Hilton had a big game, and it had been a while since he scored a touchdown. Could you just tell us about scheming against him? And we obviously are all familiar with T.Y. Hilton, but could you talk about him a little bit?
Well, he has tremendous quickness and speed. He's hard to cover one-on-one. And so most of the time you have to double him to slow him down. And that's what in the past has been successful for us. So we'll probably have that in the game plan this time.
Aaron Reese?
Hey, Romeo. Deshaun has taken sacks at the lowest rate of his career. And I know there's no one thing that can be attributed to sacks, but what do you think has been the biggest factor in just the fewer negative plays out of him this season?
Well, he's been able to escape quite a bit. He's got a nice feel for where the pressure's coming from, where the openings are that he can get to give himself a chance to get rid of the ball or to run. And so I think that's been the biggest thing.
Have you seen him develop, just as the time you've been around him, a better sense of kind of that sort of push-pull of when to extend the play, when to kind of improvise versus playing within the timing of the offense, or just knowing when to get rid of the ball a little bit better? Have you seen him make progress in that regard this season?
Well, you know what? I think when a pass play is called, he wants to throw the ball. And when he has time to throw it, he throws it. But sometimes, you get a good rusher on the other side, or somebody slips and falls, and now he's got pressure in his face. He feels the pressure. Then he has to give himself time, and so he has to try to escape. And so in doing that, all right, sometimes you escape to throw, and sometimes you escape to run. And so I think basically he escapes to throw, but when he has to run, he runs. And he's a pretty good runner.
Thank you.
Aaron Wilson?
Hey, Romeo. How you doing?
Hi, Aaron.
Romeo, you're at home today, is that right?
How'd you guess?
Okay. I haven't been over. So I wouldn't be sure.
Well, the whole NFL is closed down, today and tomorrow.
Yes. I wanted to ask you about that. What are some of the things you'll try to do? Because you got to build your game plan usually on Tuesdays and a little bit today since you didn't have a game yesterday. What are some things you'll do, and what are kind of the ways you'll try to conduct business with the players and with the staff and everyone to try to get as much done as possible? And how weird is it just to be having to do this after the Thanksgiving game?
Well, what we have to do is what we're doing right now. We have to Zoom, and so this morning we had a Zoom meeting with the players. We had started off with the squad, and then broke up into special teams, and then offense and defense. After this, I'll have a staff meeting over Zoom with the guys to talk about this coming week's schedule and what we need to get done. And so that's the choice that we have. That's the option. The difference is that when you go over Zoom, you're not in the room with them, and you can't look the guy in the face and get a great feel for him, and so I think that's the difference. You're not as close. You're distant.
And David Johnson, how's he doing after being in the concussion protocol and being on injured reserve? Do you anticipate activating him, designating him from return, and seeing what he can do in practice if he can get out of the protocol?
Well, he's made progress, and so this week we'll see if we get to practice, we'll see what he can do. And then hopefully he'll be well enough to help us out.
Vanessa.
Hey, Romeo, my question is kind of similar to Aaron Wilson's. How do you make sure that these guys are engaged and locked in when you have to do everything virtually for 2 days ahead of a really important week?
Well, I think that I would like to feel that our guys are engaged and locked in and working to try to win a game. But I understand also that when you're in a Zoom situation, that you're at home and there are distractions at home. But I think for the most part, from what I've noticed over our Zoom meetings, since we've been Zooming, some since the summer, that our guys pay attention, they listen, and they try to minimize the distractions of being at home.
Greg Bailey.
Hey, Romeo, a little bit about Duke Johnson, his ability to catch the ball, not just kind of normal, swing passes to the running back, but catch the ball downfield. How would you describe that ability, and how can you kind of use that ability going forward?
Well, I think he showed Thursday that he has the ability to make some tough catches down the field, because that one that he made down the field was an unbelievable catch. It was really a good catch. Receivers make those kind of catches, and Duke has had that ability ever since I've worked with him. And it's not just swing passes. He runs routes. He knows what the routes are. He knows how to run it versus DBs and linebackers. And so I think that he is a good help to us because of those abilities and that skill set.
John.
Romeo, in each of the last two games, you've praised your coordinators, and specifically about Tim Kelly. Since you went through being a first-time coordinator, what has he done that has impressed you with his growth this season, and how much does he have to do with Deshaun playing better than he's ever played?
Well, I think that as a first-time coordinator, you go in and calling the game itself is what you have to get a feel for. Knowing what your players can do, knowing what the plays are and what plays might work the best against the opponent's defense. And so I think Tim studies the opponent's defense. He understands the system that he's working with. He understands the players who he has to work with. And then during the course of the game, he's been able to get a feel and a flow for the game and pick the right plays to call. And so I think I've seen him grow in that area, from the beginning of the year to where we are right now. I think he has a good feel for calling the game and the plays that we need to run against a particular defense.
Jason.
Afternoon, Romeo. I was curious what your thoughts were on how the Broncos situation played out, and if you'd ever even contemplated what would happen or which guys you might turn to if anything happened to your team similar to what happened with Denver.
Well, yeah, Denver, that was a tough situation for them. And I don't think any team really wants to be in that situation when, hey, you don't have any quarterbacks on your roster to play the game. And so now then you got to pick and choose from what you have left to try to give yourself the best chance. And when you're going against a very good team like they were, all right, those odds are not very good, and you hope that you don't have to be in that situation. And so that's why in this pandemic, you have to do everything you can to try to follow the protocols, to try to protect your teams, and the players have to do whatever they can, to try to protect themselves and to protect the team. And if you find yourself in that situation, you just do the best you can and understand that that might not be good enough.
Have you guys considered what you might do if it ever came to that?
Well, we're not going to let it get to that. That's what we're going to do. We're not going to let it get to that. We're practicing social distancing, wearing masks, washing hands, staying apart. All of that, and going to more Zooms so that the guys don't gather, because, these guys, they have that team mentality, and the team mentality, you want to hang with your group, your guys, and so when you get them together, they have a tendency to gather, so now we got to kind of keep them apart so that they're not able to get together and hang together, because when you're trying to build a team, you talk to them about counting on the guy next to you and knowing the guy next to you, then you can count on and depend on it. But the only way you get to do that is to get really to know him, get close to him to know him. And now all of a sudden they're telling us, hey, spread apart, stay apart, and so it's something that the guys have to fight all the time. But I think that they're doing a reasonably good job of following the protocols.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, Romeo, the last few weeks, what have you seen from Justin Reed in terms of improvement, where he's making those big plays again and kind of doing some of the things that you saw in his first 2 NFL seasons?
Well, I think he's playing a solid football game, and sometimes you can play a solid game and not make the big dynamic plays. Just being able to make a tackle one-on-one to keep a guy from scoring a touchdown, or defending a pass, to keep him from catch and running, being where you're supposed to be. If I'm supposed to be in the middle of the field, I'm in the middle of the field so that those guys around me, they know that they can depend on me there. And I think Justin has grown, and particularly this last game, he was pretty solid, and he allowed the defense to be able to play and help win that game.
And what was your evaluation of Kahale Waring, his first NFL game? And I didn't have a lot of production, but just how he did out there just to get his feet wet in a game.
He got his feet wet. He's trying. He tries hard. He has ability. But, when you get into the game, the speed of the game, the pressure of the game, the intensity of the game, it's all different than when you're working with trainers and, trying to get in condition and all of those things. So the more time that he gets on the field, I think the better that he'll feel and the better that he'll play.
Last one for John.
Romeo, you mentioned earlier about the Colts defense being shorthanded against the Titans. They played great defense all season before that game, and it's not because they got a great running game to control the ball. What have you seen from them this year defensively, in which they've ranked first or second most of the season?
Well, I think that their front is a good front. They play disciplined defense, not only on the front end, but also on the back end. They don't do a tremendous amount, but they are aggressive in what they do. And because of that aggression, a lot of times plays don't work because they are into the backfield, they are creating piles. And so a play that's designed to go off tackle now has to bow out and try to get around, and they got enough speed that they can run to the ball and make tackles. So I think that they've been doing a good job with that whole defense all year. And I don't know that I would count this past game, against them. I would say if I'm looking at their defense, I might put this past game on the back burner and say, let's look at all these other games where they're first, second in the NFL. And that's what we're going to see Sunday.
All right. Thanks for your time, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day.